Hello, this is Janet Michael. In addition to hosting The Valley Today each weekday at noon on the River 95.3, I also produce podcasts, and I'm excited to introduce you to a new podcast series in partnership with Lord Fairfax Community College. Having provided higher education and career training for the past half-century, LFCC is tightly interwoven into the fabric of the Northern Shenandoah Valley and Piedmont regions. Join me every week for conversations with current and former students to hear their funny and inspiring stories as we learn about their journey to higher education, the role that LFCC has played, where they are now, and where they plan to go. We'll also talk to current and former professors about their experiences and best memories of LFCC over the past 50 years. Get every single episode as they're released on our website at theriver953.com under the podcast tab, or you can subscribe for free in Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, on Spotify, Amazon Music, wherever you listen to podcasts. Just search for LFCC Stories. Hello, and welcome to The Valley Today. I am your host, Janet Michael. Happy Monday as you are listening to the show today. Hopefully you have dug out of all the snow, and I say that as I am sitting in the studio pre-recording today's show on a Wednesday afternoon, and there is no snow. So I'm hoping the weatherman doesn't make a liar out of me and we get no snow, and I'm telling you to dig out of something we didn't get any of. But this is all Gerry Maiatico's fault. You got to know when I'm wrong on the air. Somehow it is a 6 degrees of Gerry Maiatico.
I'm used to it. I'll take the hit.
We are recording our show today in the studio with Fire Marshal Gerry Maiatico. He is the Warren County Fire Marshal and a newbie to the show, though I am sure he will be back many times over the next couple of years. Chief James Bonzano is in the studio with us. And I joked with you first when you came in the door, Chief, and said, did you not look at who you'd have to work with before you took this job?
No, ma'am. I didn't even gander a little. So, but
you're paying the price for that now, aren't you?
Yeah, I would agree with you. It's been a good time.
So tell me a little bit about your background, because being a chief isn't a new thing for you.
No, ma'am, it's not. I was 34 years in Arlington County for the Arlington County Fire Department. Came up through the ranks and retired in September 2018 as the fire chief.
And I bet it's a whole lot different here in a smaller rural community than it was probably in Arlington.
It is, but I'm loving it. The people are the best. That's actually what brought my wife and I were heading out to the community regardless. We're looking at Fauquier County, Warren County, and Clark County to relocate, move from Northern Virginia. All of our children, except for my son, he still hangs out a little bit in the basement, but I think all of them are out largely. So we were looking to move out west, and this came to be. So it's been a blessing.
So Gerry, how concerned were you? Because you and I, how I feel about Chief. I mean, our former chief is one of my favorite people on the planet. You not so much. But how did you feel about a new chief coming in?
Well, Janet, certainly it's a culture shock to anybody when you're through a leadership of the last 25 years underneath of one individual. So, nobody can I sit here and say I wasn't worried? Absolutely, I'm not. But to have new leadership gives new perspective to the organization and a different vision. And, not saying that Chief Bonzano has came in and changed a lot of things, but he provides a different perspective on what we're used to. And, kind of the message that we told Chief, day one is we know what we know. You have to teach us what we don't know. And he's done a really good job doing that and fostering that environment for us.
Well, and I'm sure having been chief for so many years kind of gave you a bit of sense of a confidence coming in to replace someone who had been here for so long and had been doing such, in my opinion, fantastic job, because I know Chief's listening. He's going to listen to this.
I've heard a lot about Chief Mabee, and I have nothing but respect for him. And as I spoke to the rank and file, Gerry, everybody loved him. And, he's just a great person, and he's done such a great job with the department. So it gave me a strong foundation to work with, right? But I don't know, your point about not knowing what you don't know, right? So this is different to me. I did grow up in the fire department, last 34 years, and the last few years, or last 2.5 years as chief. But it was totally different. And so the challenges out here are a little different. They're unique, but there's a lot of similarities as well. I love the people, and I've always gotten really into the what brought me into the vocation, if you will. It's been the people and the people we serve and the people we work with, and the esprit de corps. And so kind of my mantra. I had a great role model when I first got into it. He said, "Jimmy, anytime you have a hard time defining your priority, just work back from the citizen." And that's kind of what we're moving on from here, and just kind of working under that on that same mantra that Mike Dove kind of instilled in me, and it served me well. So I'm hoping to kind of continue to work with the folks here and do just that.
Well, and that makes sense too, because the job is the job. I mean, putting out fires and going on EMS calls, things like that, that's kind of standard. You have procedures. It's the same, probably close to being the same, no matter where you are, no matter what locality you're in. But the people do change, and being connected to the people is going to be a core of being successful here in Warren County, I think.
I would agree with you, and I think it's anywhere. I think that's where I get my energy, is the people I work with daily, and the people we serve. And I mean that because that's the beauty of the business is when, I like to say we're in the bad day business, so we need to bring our A game when stuff happens. And when we do that, we need to all pull together and just know our job and know it well and put a smile on our face. There's no cost with that, and take care of each other.
Are there programs and things that you had in place in Arlington that you're hoping to maybe bring here and implement here in our community?
I won't say, maybe just a couple amendments or maybe some opportunities. And I think that if we look in our citizen base, you mentioned earlier in our conversation about our Citizens Academy, I think perspective is everything. There's a lot of assumptions. I would love to have, some of our political figures and rank and file, along with our citizen base, have the opportunity to, be involved in some type of Citizens Academy so they can actually have a hands-on, not just conceptually, but pragmatically to understand what we do and why we do it. I think that's one piece of it. I think the whole fire prevention or Operation Fire Safe is particularly an important program, that smoke detectors and early detection, home safety checks are really important. And I think the whole prevention aspect, and I'll lean heavily on Gerry for that.
You better be careful what you wish for.
That's what I've heard. But I think that the prevention aspect is huge. And then also in our EMS realm, I think there's a lot of opportunity as we look not only at the preventive side of the house, but also in regards to our medical direction and standard operating procedures.
And you came in the middle of a pandemic. I mean, this wasn't just a normal, hey, this job's out here, I'm going to apply, go through the application and the interview process, and then just start fresh in this new job. You did all of that in the middle of a pandemic.
True. And a little backstory to that. So I was doing a little bit of consulting when I retired, and I enjoyed it. And of course, as you said, the pandemic happened, and that kind of dried up, if you will. My wife actually said, it'd be a really good time for you to look for a job. So just a little context there. But yes, it's been challenging. Again, I laud the men and women that serve Warren County Fire and Rescue. They do great work, and they're going to work have the same challenges as everyone else, and too have been affected by COVID, not only personally but also in their family and loved ones. So Gerry and Chief Mabee and the staff has pulled together and just done a fantastic job of serving the community, and I'm just happy to be a part of that.
So Gerry, what kind of impact has COVID had? I mean, I've talked to Joe on numerous occasions. I've talked to Ashley about what going on a call now is like versus what it was like a year. Well, we can't even say a year ago now. A year and a half or 2 years ago. No,
that's right. And it has really changed the way that we operate. When you look at the safety and accountability of our providers, it's really changed the way that we operate on every call. So, it's like dealing with a sick person, but every person is contagious now, potentially, right? So we're treating every contact that we have in the EMS world, in the fire world, in every conversation we have as a potentially infected person. That's for the utmost safety of our career and volunteer responders, and more importantly, their families, because we don't want to contract something at work and take it home. And, Chief Bonzano came in when we had the absence of Chief Mabee due to his medical situation. And Chief Bonzano was, in that transitional process we were using terminology of staffing crisis. We had up at one time 9 people off of our schedule. We're an organization of 40 individuals.
Yeah.
So when you have 9 people off, that's a huge impact to be able to provide a daily level of service. Our volunteer responders were put in a position, in a situation do I go and do what I really love to do and put myself in that extreme danger? and lose 14 days at my full-time job because I got sick or tested positive. They couldn't physically afford to go to the firehouse and take that chance. So we've seen our staffing levels and numbers go down. And use term like staffing crisis. Chief Bonzano has been able to come in, help us right the ship, get staffing. We don't have anybody off, knock on wood, today. We don't have anybody in a testing process today. So, looking at mid-December, with holidays and COVID and to today, we're doing a lot better. But it has really changed the daily activities in the fire station, so and in addition to the safety precautions and the different types of equipment that we have to buy and employ to protect our responders.
So, Chief, in Arlington, was it just one station? Was it Arlington County and several stations that were under that umbrella?
Yes, ma'am. So 33 response assets, various numbers, rescues, engines, ladder trucks, medic units, but 10 stations, 11 locations, 12 to include the fire chief's office, and so 2 battalions, 26 square miles, population density is about 350 daytime population, a lot of high rises, so a very dense community. So yeah, just total different challenges. If you looked at just vertical response versus traveling down the road, which is with 26 square miles and a lot of people, but all on top of each other. Challenges with that, obviously, high rise districts, et cetera, metro rail. And then you look to here, and I loved it. 219 square miles, right? Am I right when I say that? I'm new, so. But very sprawling. But the river traverses the county. Daytime or population's right around 40,000 people, 41. But longer response times, rural water supply. Other challenges, if you will, getting to the door of someone that's ill, and especially if you look in the advent of COVID, people are waiting to call 911. Just simply because they realize the acuity levels through the roof and hospitals are challenged. So I think that the unique challenges, however challenges, and like I said, the men and women kill it here. They do great work, and so I'm just it's cool to be a part of it.
It's been a smooth transition so far. It
has, and again, I think Chief Mabee and the staff, the administrative staff, as well as Gerry and everyone have just been wonderful to a person. And I mean that to the citizen. I go up, and my daughter, she's a nurse at Virginia Hospital Center. My youngest of 4, and she's a nurse at Virginia.
She's not the one living in the basement, is she?
No, it's my son. He's hanging out. He's a lot like his father. Aspirins and granite.
Chill.
Yeah, exactly. Just got no rush with this, Dad. I said, we're selling the house. We're out of here April 30th. I said, you'll going with the house if you're still here. So actually, he's doing really well. But anyway, to make a long story short, we're looking forward to coming out here and being a part of the community.
Well, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to continue our conversation with Fire Marshal Gerry Maiatico and Chief James Bonzano. He is the new chief for Warren County Fire and Rescue Service. We're going to talk more with them in just a couple of minutes.
Got a financial decision to make or a goal to reach, but you don't know where to start? You've come to the right place. Introducing Quick Money Chats with the Northern Shenandoah Valley Financial Education Program. Visit tinyurl.com/quickmoneychat to schedule a virtual chat with a staff member or trained volunteer. We won't tell you what to do, but we will give you the tools you need to choose wisely. And because Virginia Cooperative Extension is part of Virginia Tech and Virginia State, your land-grant universities, you can be sure that our information is credible and trustworthy. And you'll know that we aren't trying to sell you something. Maybe you want to improve your credit score, or reduce your banking overdraft fees, or even figure out if you can afford to buy that car. Sorting through tons of information on the internet can be overwhelming, and sometimes it can be hard to know who to trust. Schedule a Quick Money Chat and get the information you need to take action. Go to tinyurl.com/quickmoneychat and get financial education personalized for you.
Welcome back to the Valley today. I am your host, Janet Michael. Happy Monday as you are listening to the show today. We, of course, have pre-recorded our conversation, not on the Zoom screen. I am in person, and of all in-person radio recordings, one of them has to be with Gerry Maiatico.
Well, I will say this, folks, that there's certainly not as much Lysol in this room as last time I was here, so I can breathe today.
I tried to make the air quality a little bit better, only because Chief James Bonzano was coming with you, and I wanted to make a good impression on him. You know, it is what it is. So we are talking today with the new Chief of Warren County Fire and Rescue Service. And Chief, I got to wonder, because we talked in the first segment about you coming from Arlington. Gerry, were you concerned? Did you hear a lot of people saying, oh, Lord, they're hiring somebody coming from the big city or Northern Virginia. He's going to try and turn our fire and rescue into what it was in the big city. Did you hear that?
No, I didn't hear a lot of rumblings. Of course, that's always a sentiment out there with somebody that, you know, oh, they're going to try to take away all the volunteers and bring in all career people and increase tax bases to pay for staffing. You know, that's always a fear, but is it a reality? Right. So, you know, and I think that's where, you know, Chief gets to come in and provide a different look at the organization, a different perspective, and really help us identify our strengths and weaknesses.
And I would imagine, too, Chief, that new perspective is even more helpful because you haven't been here before. There's a lot of good that's going to come out of that because you don't have any, well, we tried that before and it didn't work. You've got a whole new perspective, literally, on how things are going to go moving forward.
I think that's fair. I mean, I've been asking a lot of questions I simply don't know. New organization, new terrain. I grew up in the fire service and I know it pretty well, but you don't know what you don't know well. It's a brand new organization and they do things a little different, but there are a lot of similarities. Your point's well taken. But I tell you what I love the most, and one of the things that really I love is the whole idea of a combination system, career and volunteer. I love the idea of the community being a part of, you know, the actual response team, of training together, and, you know, the whole one mission, the mantra of one mission, one, you know, career and volunteer together. I loved. I think the idea of pulling together and taking care of the people we serve is, you know, appealing to me. And that was one of the things that brought me in, to be very honest with you.
And I think that would be easier here in a community like ours, probably more so than it would have been in Arlington, because the city has a different type of community than what we have here. Or maybe I'm just stereotyping people that live in the city.
No, and I didn't take it that way. I love. So one of my buddies that wanted me to come out here, he's like, you know, you really seriously ought to look at the job. And, you know, as I obviously, you know, I looked at the job. I took the job and was blessed enough to get it. And but as we rode down the road, everybody was waving. He said, see, they already know you're the fire chief. And I started laughing. I was just thinking, that's one thing I love, is the fact that you get to know your neighbor. I mean, when my daughter was here the other day, we went to the bakery in town, and forgive me, it was right across from the coffee shop. I love both of them, so I've been visiting them on a pretty regular basis. But they had fire department paraphernalia on the wall, and I looked at the helmet and stuff and started talking to the folks. Introduced my daughter. Everybody got to know my daughter, and she's a beautiful girl. I'm sure she was a little easy on the eyes, and it was a lot easier than looking at me. But the bottom line is they were just kind to a person. It was wonderful. So I love that.
Now, are you in contact at all with Chief maybe? Do you talk to him on at least a fairly regular or irregular basis just to say, hey, you know, what did you do about this? Or do you have any guidance or advice for me?
I did, and he's been exceptionally gracious. When I came into the department, I went over and shook his hand and listened to what he had to say, and he was very humble. But the reality is he offered some really good perspectives, and one, fireground operationally, as well as just the background of the department and where it came from and where it's going to go. He was very supportive of me, and really just a great guy. You know, I really enjoyed it. I went over to Fire Station 4 the other day. Now he's working right as a volunteer there, and I just think it's wonderful. You know, he's just good people, and I'm sure he's going to be a great resource not only now but as we move to the future.
Well, and I know that with his medical issues there towards the end aside, if you take those out, he was retiring because he didn't really have a choice. Is it a federal or a state mandate that that at a certain age, fire chiefs have to retire.
It's under the state mandate. So under our Virginia retirement system, under the LEOS program, or basically the supplement that firefighters get, you have to go at 70 years old. So they were forcing him to retire based off of the retirement restrictions associated with it.
So how many years do we have with you, or is that just totally a rude question to ask?
To be very honest, I haven't even thought about it. I'm happy to be. I'm 59, so
we got plenty of time.
We got a little while, right?
We got plenty of time to break him in and teach him all of the things, Gerry.
We got to slow him down. Yeah. He's working me too hard. I tell you.
Well, and do you find, and this is nothing against Chief maybe at all, but we do kind of get stuck in our routines and in our boxes and doing things the way that we've always done. Have you found that a lot of different firefighters, the volunteers, the paid staff across the many stations have kind of been excited because it is something new and maybe something different is going to happen?
No, absolutely. And that's not a jab at Chief maybe, but there is an excitement through the rank and file of the organization because we're going to get a different perspective of what the business as usual has been. We know what we know. So, when you talk about a chief from Northern Virginia, certainly they operate a fire ground differently in the Northern Virginia than what we do. So Chief Bonzano is going to be able to bring a different aspect of incident management to the organization, different expectations of leadership, different strategies, tactics, and priorities, if you will, through the organization, a rejuvenation of the volunteer system because it's a different perspective and a different look than what a previous administration has looked like, right? But so while it's a scary time,
Thanks, Gerry.
As with any leadership, it's also an exciting time because, fresh ideas, fresh leadership, fresh visions, and Chief Bonzano's asking questions every day. And, oftentimes.
Because I simply do not know.
Well, oftentimes. And
you're not asking him, though, right? And you're not trusting the answers because you can't always guarantee that he has the right answer. He will make it up in the blink of an eye.
He does this to me sometimes. He goes like that.
That's what I was getting ready to say. What he just did is, Chief Bonzano was like, well, all right, why do we do it like this? And I got to shrug my shoulders because I really don't know. It's just the way that we've learned, not saying it's right, not saying it's wrong. It's just the way that we have done it, the way that we've always done it, so to be able not to answer the why behind it is it's challenging, but it's also fruitful discussion to be how can we do things more efficiently, more effectively, more safe, and so there's many different perspectives.
Well, and I would imagine, too, it's going to be a ripple effect. Like it would be if you worked for a company that suddenly had their CEO change or your direct manager change, and you had a staff that was fairly happy and they got along and everything was great, but maybe there were a couple of issues that they never felt got resolved because the communication between the guy at the top and those that were actually out on the boots on the ground never really kind of got together. Now you're going to have that fresh perspective. There's not going to be, they let that go because he and so were good friends and they go out and they hang out. You don't have any of those encumbrances that are going to keep you in that kind of box.
I have no friends. You are absolutely right.
I was trying to say that as nicely as possible.
It's been a breath of fresh air, and I meant it as much as, and I appreciate what Gerry said, that I can offer, safety and accountability and perspective on a fire ground or emergency scene. There's a lot to be learned, too. And I don't necessarily equate rank or wisdom. The youngest guy on the street can teach you something. It's all contingent on what they've learned and how they want to share. And I think that's really what we're trying to get to is the importance of this is our system, our community. Own it and bring what you have to the table and let's get better together. And that's kind of the message.
Well, and Gerry, you mentioned a second ago that it can sometimes be scary. You got to be terrified because he's talking about Citizens Fire Academy on a reboot. He's talking about prevention. You're going to have to actually start doing your job.
Well, actually, what really got me is like he's a month into the job and this radio station called and said, "Hey, can you guys come?" And I was like, "Oh man, we got to go back there."
Yeah, I told him not to come. I told him that he didn't have to be present. But he, of course, insisted because he thinks he's famous.
He did
internationally.
He did going.
No, and that's again, that's a different perspective. When you talk about we are doing, what Chief, the Citizens Fire Academy, check. Smoke alarm program, check. Operation Fire Safe, Check. Community outreach, fire prevention, check. We're doing it, but are we doing it to the best of our ability, right? We go back a long ways, and we were talking, before the show, we talked about the establishment of the fire marshal's office. Mm-hmm. And I go back to the message to the board of supervisors at that time is, we're offering all of these programs and services. But with establishing the fire marshal's office, we can do better. With a different leadership, we can do better, right? So he's going to help us identify, Gerry, you doing this? Yes. All right. What about this? No.
Why not?
Why not, right? So you're just asking things that he knows what he knows, we know what we know, and that different leadership analysis of the organization is really going to help us grow, right? So Chief Maybe, as and I love every time Chief Bonzano says it because it makes me feel warm and fuzzy inside, is Chief Maybe, he really built the foundation of the organization, right? So with a strong foundation, you start to construct the rest of the building. So over the last 25 years, Chief Maybe has done a great job establishing the Department of Fire and Rescue Services, establishing a career system, and at the time was an all-volunteer response system, was able to keep the rate of growth of the career department down, therefore offsetting and reducing the impact to the taxpayer. Chief Bonzano, first budget, he came in, budget was due 3 days before he started his job, and we didn't submit it for him, right? So he came in late to the game. His first budget season, he could have asked for 20, 30, 40 people.
But I realized they would have had me 66 eastbound. So really,
you'd have been hanging out in Farmville with Doug Stanley. That's what would have happened. My favorite county administrator, by the way.
Copy that.
So it's really the analysis that Chief's leadership gets to bring to the organization, the questions he asks, and the discussions that are going to be had over the next several months, next several years. That's really going to help pave the direction of the organization, right? We're going down the road because Chief Maybe was driving, the bus as an example, but are we going down the right road? Can we take a different way? So that's just a small analogy of where we're at right now. And, I think the majority of the organization, career, volunteer alike, are excited for Chief Bonzano and the leadership that he's going to bring to the organization.
And Chief, I don't get the sense from the conversation that we had before we started recording and then just now as we're chatting, I don't get the sense that you're going to lead in a vacuum. You impress me as the kind of person who's going to seek out other people within the organization to say, hey, what are your thoughts on this particular thing and how would you like to take charge and do something with it?
Yes, ma'am. I'm not good at much, but if I've ever been good at one thing, I think I understand the importance of relationships. And I think that in sincerity in those relationships, genuine relationships, both career and volunteer, there's a lot of knowledge in this organization and in this county. And I most definitely ask questions simply sometimes because I don't know. But I think buy-in is important. I think ownership of your department and the citizens you serve is important. And again, I heartfully believe that wisdom is not always about rank. It's the youngest guy or the oldest volunteer can offer perspective and in context that you simply don't have, and as a result, we can be better. And that's the whole idea. So I said I'm a big believer in servant mentality. I'm a big believer in servant leadership. I think Gerry had me to meet with the officers on the third day, and they asked me my perspective, and it is just that. I feel that I work for the citizens. I work for the people that serve us every day, and I think so. Understanding that this is our department, how best to move ahead, how best to deal with emergency operations, how best to deal with administrative questions, with budget. Most recently, we brought together a team, Gerry, Lori Tierney, Austin Cricciardo, and Dr. Daly, and we went to the new Mr. McLiberty, the new finance director. Everybody has just been wonderful and asking questions simply like, if we have to do this, what's the best way to structure the budget? Same thing with emergency operations. My number one priority is safety and accountability on a fire ground, on an emergency incident, right? So if that's my priority, then I want people to understand that. And so if I'm going to run a fire ground, I need to be in full protective gear, so it would be understood that everyone else is. So I need a...
this, then that.
Yeah, exactly. I need to make sure that I'm not just saying it, but I need to be doing it. And I I was fortunate yesterday. I had the opportunity at the end of presenting our budget. I was able to stick my head in the ACLS class, Advanced Cardiac Life Support class, that some of our best and brightest have put together, and all their colleagues were in there. And just to watch that dynamic in emergency medicine, how it's grown. I became a paramedic in, a EMT in 82 and a paramedic in 85, and my hair was a lot bigger and blacker and my waist was a lot smaller. And I'm here to tell you, they've come a long way. Now, I still hold the certification. I'd hardly say that I'm even close to the knowledge base I witnessed yesterday. So it's a very talented bunch. I think this county should be very proud. The men and women really do great work, and they continue to grow. So I'm looking forward to it.
Well, I am excited to see what you do over the course of the next couple of years. Welcome and good luck.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
And you, I guess we're going to have to work on a Citizens Fire Academy and do it my way, because that was the successful way that year.
Well, you come back and run it for us.
Okay. I can do that. It's not like I got anything else going on.
That didn't work.
See, that's how I knew.
That didn't work.
We are going to wrap up our conversation today. We have been pre-recording in the studio with Warren County Fire Marshal Gerry Maiatico. Along with him has been the new Warren County Fire and Rescue Chief James Bonzano. Thank you both for coming to hang out with me for a little bit, even though you didn't bring me coffee, Gerry.
You had Starbucks. I seen it.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure.
I'll be back tomorrow. It is Tourism Tuesday, Luray Page County edition. So we are going to be chatting with someone from Jordan Hollow Stables. We're going to talk about horseback riding tomorrow. Meet me here just a few minutes after noon.